Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a very exciting reading vlog where I'm going to be reading the lowest rated book versus the highest rated book on my physical TBR according to Goodreads. I'm speechless. Oh my god. And I don't really care whether or not you guys kiss when you're 14 years old. Just so like stupid. Oh my god, I'm gonna throw. So this morning I actually put in all my physical books into Goodreads in my want to read list. I sorted it by rating and looked at the lowest rated and also the highest rated. To start talking about the lowest rated, the runner-up, the second lowest rated, was Booked on a Feeling by G.C. Lee. I actually DNF'd this book. I read, I think, oh my god, it still has a bookmark in it. Wait, I got to page 98. I have my receipt of the book. I bought this at the Strand when I went to New York for the first time in 2022, and I read this on the plane home. Then I got a headache and fell asleep instead, and I don't know if I ever picked it up again because I didn't really like it that much. So it makes sense to me that it has a low rating, but who knows, maybe one day I'll read it, because I guess if I do this video again, this one would potentially be the next lowest rated book on there. But this is just a romance, and I'm pretty sure it's friends to lovers. And the actual lowest rated on my physical TBR is Lies Like Poison by Chelsea Pitcher, which is a young adult murder mystery book. I don't even remember where I got this. Or actually, I think I got it off of Vinted at some point because I was doing like a set of books. I was doing like a bundle from the same seller, and this just looked interesting. I didn't look it up because this was one of the books that I added into Goodreads today. So it's the first time that I realized this has a very low rating. And I actually started earlier today, which is why I have a bookmark in. I'm only at chapter 4, which is page 33. So I don't know like too much, but first of all, the font is quite big. Why does a chapter take up like literally half the page to just say 4 and a little chapter name? But so far what I'm gathering from this book is that we're going to follow these teenagers. They're 17 years old, and one of their best friends, his stepmom, got murdered, or at least she died. And in the first chapter, one of our main characters, Belladonna, gets arrested for this murder, but she swears she didn't do it, except when they were 14 years old, Belladonna and some of her friends actually made a pact to kill the stepmother, and that paper is found. They were going to put in, it says here, 1 petal of poppy, 1 petal of lily, 1 petal of belladonna, a recipe for the perfect murder. They're all named after flowers, and apparently all the flowers are poisonous, so if they put 1 leaf in the tea, no one would know who did it. But now 3 years later, when they're 17, only belladonna was found, like only a leaf of belladonna was found in the tea, so they assume that she is the killer. And I assume the book is going to be about who actually committed the murder, if it was her, if it was someone else, what the motive was, and what was happening. And it's only a little less than 300 pages, so quite short. I honestly kind of enjoy YA murder mysteries, thrillers. I've read multiple of them, and I quite enjoy them because they're really fast paced with usually quite short chapters and just easy to digest. So I am kind of excited to read this book actually. I haven't read a thriller or like a mystery in a hot minute, so always fun to read because they're just easy to get through. They're always perfect if you're in a slump, so we'll see if I rate it higher, but the rating is still like, you know, over a 3. So if I rate this a 3-star, which it potentially could be, Goodreads was kind of correct, you know, like then it fit with the vibes. And I feel like I always, if I see a book has a low rating, like below 4, I immediately dismiss it, which is so stupid because I've read a lot of books that are 3 stars, which I still am like, yeah, I liked it, like it was a 3-star, I had a great time, it just wasn't phenomenal. But for some reason I'm scared of any book that has a low rating, so I guess we'll see, and maybe this can cure me of that. But on to the highest rated book. The runner-up for highest rated on my physical TBR is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, which is the second book in the duology Six of Crows. And I actually read Six of Crows, I don't even know what years ago, and I didn't love it, so I never read Crooked Kingdom, even though I've heard that one is even better. But we'll see. I feel like if I were to read it though, I wouldn't remember anything from the first book. I mean, I remember a few things, but yeah, I don't know. But this was the second highest book on my physical TBR. But the actual highest rated book is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I wish I had the other cover of this book because I think that one is just so pretty. But I'm very excited to read this book. I read The Nightingale by her in December and I rated it 5 stars. So Meg started to read another book by her. I also read Firefly Lane, but that was like back in the spring and I didn't like that one. Scared about that, but that one wasn't historical fiction and this one is, and so is The Nightingale. So I have more faith and hope in this one. Has an incredibly high rating and I don't know entirely what it's about except for the fact that her brother goes off to war to become a soldier and she follows him to become a like nurse at the front lines during the Vietnam War. And that's what I love about Kristen Hanna books, is that they focus on women's stories in history because usually those aren't in history books. So I'm very excited whenever we get to this, but obviously I have to read Lies Like Poison first. But again, I think it's gonna be quite quick to get through. But someone tell me if I'm crazy for thinking that the font is big. This is what the font looks like. I don't know, I feel like it is. But anywho, let's continue to read this book so that we can see if Goodreads ratings are correct. Hello guys, it's been actually many days. I think the last time I read was on Thursday and today's Monday because I just had a busy weekend. I was out with friends Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday I was completely just so tired. I was just on my couch all day long and I didn't read. But now we're back and better than ever. And you know what guys, it's finally March. The birds are chirping. My friend got me fresh flowers, which is literally the kindest thing ever. It was sunny today. I went and got ice cream with my friend after school. Spring is coming and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so over the cold and the snow and I can't wait to bring out like my spring jackets and put away my winter coat. But anyways, let's talk about the book Lies Like Poison. I am about 90 pages in and it says the truth according to Jack, whose name used to be Poppy, but it's still a girl. Kind of confusing. Every time they say Jack, I think of a boy, but then they say she and I'm like, right. It's a girl. So what I have gathered is that this book is told in 3 different point of views and it's from those 3 girls. I think Poppy, Lily, and Belladonna. And the first part was from Belladonna, which was really confusing to me because only the first chapter was told in Belladonna's point of view. Everything else so far has been told in Poppy, aka Jack's point of view. And then there were like a few chapters from Lily. So I'm just very confused because it's not that point of view. So the truth according to Jack must be like the truth. Honestly, I don't really know. That just like confuses me because what do you mean like it was the truth according to Belladonna but we didn't see her point of view? I don't know. I mean the very last chapter as well was also Belladonna. So I don't know. And now I guess we'll see when I read this next part if it's going to be from Jack's / Poppy's point of view, or if we're now going to change point of views, or what is happening. Mostly we've been in the present tense. There are some chapters or like moments where they're thinking back on something that happened when they were younger, like how they even became friends in the first place, and kind of how their friendship dynamic works in general. But mostly it's been like in the present tense because it is very, I mean, fast-paced, I guess, because it's not a very long book. I'm almost 1/3 of the way through now. I wouldn't say it's like gripping my attention or every chapter ends on a cliffhanger. I mean, again, I haven't read for 4 days and I haven't even really thought about it. It's not a book where I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to read. Like, I need to know what happens. Obviously, I do want to know who killed the stepmom and whatnot, but I'm not like dying to pick up this book and continue to read it. But it's written in 3rd person point of view and it's not necessarily confusing. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't really know what to think. And I think it's also because I haven't read for 4 days, so I kind of don't even remember what I read because it didn't stand out to me. But it definitely is just kind of like a very YA book. Like, you can tell that the characters are like 16, 17 years old, very immature, and very just, they think they're on top of it all, and that they even could kill someone at 14 years old. And I'm like, I mean, I'm sure they probably could, but it's just very, I don't even know. Someone is lying, someone committed murder, but who? I don't know. I honestly don't have a guess as to who did it. I have like kind of a theory, but if that theory is right, it's really boring. If that's the truth. But yeah, I don't really know who did it, which kind of does make the book better, because if it was really obvious, it wouldn't be that interesting, or at least if it was really obvious, it's usually incorrect. But here there's not really someone who's like really plotted for it, because again, I've seen the 3 point of views, so it's kind of like none of those in their head are thinking that they've done it. So that's why I'm like, is there like a fourth part? Is there someone else who could have done it? I don't know. But obviously I will continue to read it and we'll continue to see. I want like some shocking moments, you know? I want to gasp. There was a little bit here on the very last page that I read here at the end where I was like, wait, something is brewing, but we will see. I'm just happy that it's a short book, because it's just, that's what I said before, it's just perfect to read a short book. And then it's perfect that it's spring. I don't think it'll be warm enough to like read outside for this video, unfortunately, but at least I can feel the spring coming and I love it. But I'm gonna continue to read and then we'll see how I feel about it. Wait. What the I think this works, guys. It's feeling like spring and I'm literally obsessed. As you can see, my mirror ball is casting all these little spots on the wall because the sun is shining. It's been shining for days now. I have unfortunately been laying sick, but I just finished this book, which Lies Like Poison, which was obviously the lowest rated book on my physical TBR. So let's talk about it and let's see if the Goodreads rating was true. So on Goodreads, this book has an average of 3.19 and my rating is 2.75, so it's actually lower than the average rating. Maybe I would have rated it like a 3 if I didn't read it over, I think I spent over a week reading this because first of all I was sick, and second of all I just didn't feel like picking it up. I would rather watch my show or do literally anything else. I just was not interested in finishing it or reading it even for this video, and now I'm a little bit behind in schedule, having to read the next book before this video has to go out in a week, but it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I rated this book 2.75 because first of all I think I'm just not the right demographic. Obviously, again, like I said, this book is a YA mystery and I am 23 years old. I'm not in the young adult category anymore, and with these characters being 17 years old and there are multiple chapters and whatnot from when they're 14, I can just tell that they are so naive and they are so young, you know, like they're so kid-like in their mentality that I just can't take it seriously. Like, especially with how the book ended, there were just parts where I was like, I was almost laughing because it was so absurd. The thoughts they were having, the dialogue, like the things they were saying to each other in conversations, I was like, this is so naive of you, first of all, to think. Just so like stupid. You could just 100% tell that they are 17 years old and that I am not the demographic, because it's just not realistic. And I understand it's fiction and it's a thriller or a mystery, I guess. Definitely not a thriller, it's a mystery, because it was just crazy in a way. Like, I think I got on video my one reaction and that was the only time I was like gasping. I wasn't gasping to like the reveal or anything like that. I just didn't really care. Like, I did want to finish it and it's short and I wanted to know who actually did it and why. And sure, there were maybe some interesting points at the like there, but for it to be a mystery, there was also just like a lot that weren't really necessary for the plot. Like some romance and a little love triangle and whatnot, where I'm like, right, but this is a mystery and we're focusing a little bit too much on this part, and I don't really care whether or not you guys kissed when you were 14 years old, you know? They have these really big feelings, and that's where, again, you can just tell that they are children because they feel so deeply and so much when they have no life experience and they're just little kids. And then another thing that I just find so unrealistic is that there are 4 kids in this book and every single one of them have bad parents in some way. How is there not a single parent in this book who had like some rationality? And how is the police department so useless? They don't do anything. They don't investigate. They just thought, yes, this makes sense. There was belladonna leaves in the tea. There was a letter. You're the one. If they just did a little bit of digging, they could probably unveil this very quickly. It just seemed a little bit stupid, and I just wasn't, again, that interested. Maybe I don't read mysteries that much. I think I read more thrillers because they're more fast-paced and they're more exciting to read. And then I do read some YA books, and I've even read some in 2025 that I thought were so good. One called That's Not My Name, I think, and I really enjoyed that one, and that was also YA, but I think it's because that one focuses a lot more on the actual mystery and you're like so intrigued to understand what happened, but that's just not the case here. And maybe it's, yeah, I don't know. And it says for fans of One of Us is Lying, and I think that's kind of funny because One of Us is Lying is actually the first book that I read as an adult in my newfound reading hobby at the time in 2021. So actually in a month it will be 5 years ago since I read that book, and I never stopped reading since then. And I enjoyed that book at the time. Who knows if I would enjoy it now, but I still feel like that book had more substance to it from what I remember than this book did. I feel like this book was very confusing, and I said when I was about halfway through that the first part was called The Truth According to Belladonna, but I still don't really understand that because it didn't have her point of view at all in that story. There are some chapters from her point of view later on throughout the other 2, so I don't really understand that whole, the book is put into 3 parts, but I don't really understand the differences between those parts, which might sound stupid. I don't know, maybe I'm the problem, I don't know, but I don't understand the whole The Truth According to Belladonna and then Poppy / Jack and then According to Lily, because to me all 3 parts were all told from all of their point of views. Like, it's not like the first part was then told from Belladonna's point of view, the next one is told from hers, and the next one is told from hers. Like, no, all their point of views were in all parts. So I don't understand what difference that made in the parts, and I think the ending of this book was just so incredibly childlike, and that's where my age shows. But obviously I'm not the only one who has this issue, considering the fact that its rating is still around the 3-star mark, which I guess is kind of still where I was with the 2.75. I'm close to a 3. I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't think it was like well executed. It wasn't a page turner for a mystery, that's for sure, but I guess this could be a fun book if you're 16 years old and you want to read a book. I could recommend this to you. Lies Like Poison, but for me, I was not the target audience and I was not enthralled with this story, and that's just where I'm gonna leave that review. But I definitely can't say that about our next read, which is obviously my highest rated book, which is The Women by Chris and Hannah, because I am absolutely the demographic and age group and all that for this book, and I'm so excited to read it. And I'm also very scared because I just think that I'm going to cry, because I cried in her last 2 books that I've read by her, and I just know everything she writes will be soul crushing, not soul crunching. This book is 464 pages, so I guess it's not like too crazy, but I do have to finish this to get this video out in a week from today. Today's Friday and I try to post every Friday, so this should be up next Friday. But what I know about this book is that it's a woman whose brother goes to the Vietnam War to become a soldier, and she decides to follow him to be a nurse at the front lines as well, like heal the soldiers when they get hurt in combat. At least that's what I understand. But it says their friendship changed lives, their bravery changed history. Women can be heroes too. Oh my god, it's about a 20-year-old. As great and inexperienced as the young men sent to Vietnam to fight, Frankie and the brave nurses serving alongside her are overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction of war, as well as the unexpected trauma of coming home to a changed America. But Frankie will also discover the true value of female friendship and the heartbreak that love can cause. I'm scared, but I'm also very excited So let's see if this one can hold up to the Goodreads rating. I don't even remember. It has a rating of 4.59. That's crazy. That is a very, very high rating, and there's over 1,600,000 people have rated this book on Goodreads, and it still has that high of an average. Very high expectations. I really, really want to love it, but I love The Nightingale. Wish me luck, you guys. Wish me luck. Oh my gosh. Oh. Hello, it's been a while since I last talked because I never ended up starting the book during the weekend like I said. So today's Tuesday and I started the book yesterday on Monday. And as you can see, I have made it pretty far in. I'm about halfway through. I actually think I'm a little bit past halfway. I am on chapter 21, which is page 257 out of about 464. I am a bit past halfway and I wanted to obviously talk about it, like what it's about, my feelings about it, everything like that. Just a little halfway update. We follow our main character Frankie, whose brother is going out to serve in the war against Vietnam in 1966, I think is when the first chapter starts. And one of her brother's friends tell her that women can be heroes too. She's finishing up her nursing degree, and after she does that, she realizes that it's true what he said, that women can be heroes too. Frankie decides to sign up to become a nurse in the army, to go to Vietnam to follow her brother and also just to help people. Her parents are not happy about this whatsoever. They're so proud of their son, but their daughter, they're literally embarrassed of her going to war. But she ships out and she goes to Vietnam, and you follow her first days there and how scary and terrifying it is to be there. She's so inexperienced. She's 21 years old. She only just finished her nursing degree and did a few like shifts at her local hospital, and now she's just thrust into this world where everything is on such high alert and goes so fast. And it's so fascinating and insane to read about. But more along the actual plot, we basically just like follow her around on her tour, if you can say that, what it's like to be a part of this war and how the American government is lying to its people, saying that they're winning the war and the war is almost over and that not that many American soldiers are being killed, when she's a nurse and she knows that that's not true because people are dying every day, so many of them in this hospital that she works at. And she's so confused if the Americans are even on the right side of the war anymore. And it's just so horrifying to read about what she goes through being at this war hospital. People coming in who've lost limbs and who are dying, and just all these young soldiers. Some of them are only 18 years old, and it's just so heartbreaking to read about. And then now halfway through the book, she's gone back home to America, and that's the second half of the book is how discredited women were. Like, she tells people that she just came home from war and people dismiss her right away and they're like, haha, women in war. Like, they don't believe her. And even her parents, they don't care. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about her war stories. They don't understand. And it's just like, I can't even like fathom that in this day and age, obviously, because this was in the 60s. How people just truly disregarded her and did not care about her story at all. She wanted to be a hero, but no one sees her that way because no one cares. And they think that what she did was stupid and weird and just not what she should have done. Even when she comes home and like into the airport, people, like just civilians, are being so mean to her when she's in her uniform. So that's kind of like what the overall story is. It's how women were disregarded in history. Also just a lot more about the Vietnam War in general. Like, I didn't know anything about it. I heard the term the Vietnam War and I knew it was between America and Vietnam, but I actually didn't really know anything about it. So to read this book is so interesting because obviously it's fictional, but it could have been real. Like, this woman, there were nurses there and this could have just as easily been their experience, and that's just so insane to read about. And overall, I find this book really, really good. I am enjoying reading it so much. I think the storytelling that Kristen Hanna does is phenomenal, and it's so like addicting, even though not a lot is happening, which sounds so crazy. Obviously there's a war, but you see a lot of like repetitive scenes in a way, because it was repetitive, you know. The war was repetitive. Every single day she went into this hospital and helped people, and it was her whole day. She would stand on her feet to do this for up to 18 hours, just helping people and being a nurse. So it makes sense why it's repetitive. And now obviously it's changed a bit with her coming home, because now I don't know where it's gonna go from here. She only just got home basically, but I'm so interested to see more about it. I think it's just so interesting, and I don't even know what to say about it with my feelings. Just that I almost can't put it down. Like, I only started it yesterday, but I'm 250 pages in. I've read like 200 of them just today, and it's only 1 p.m. because I'm just so intrigued and so just in awe of this world, in awe of these women and what these people went through in the war. And it's also so heartbreaking and truly just, you know, knocks your breath away when there's hard scenes that happens and things that are described. But I can't wait to read more. I'm so excited to continue and see where Frankie's story will go from now on. I want her to have a happy ending, but with Kristen Hanna, I just don't know if I can believe that. I think I'm gonna cry at the end. We'll see, because I've cried at her last 2 books. The last like 30 minutes of her books I'm just a puddle of tears. So we'll see if this one does the same, but I will continue to read and obviously keep you guys updated. I'm going to start crying. I'm going to start crying. I had a theory, which is why I had to set up the camera, because I had to record my reaction if my theory was right. And my theory was right. I was correct. I can't tell you what my theory was. I feel like sick to my stomach. I feel tears forming in my eyes. I don't know. Oh, I feel nauseous. Okay, I have to continue reading. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. Okay, so one part of my theory was right, but this next part blindsided me. What the hell? If you've read the book, I just read chapter 28. I'm speechless. I finished it. Let me get my bearings and I'll be back. Alright, as you guys just saw, I finished The Women by Kristen Hanna, so let's talk about it. I really thought that I wasn't going to cry, because in her last 2 books I've cried for like the last maybe 30 minutes of the book, and I only had like 5 pages left, and I'm like, I'm not crying. I understand this is such a powerful moment, the way the book ends, and I really liked the ending, but I was like, I'm not gonna cry, and that's okay. And then the last like 3 pages happened, and tears instantly tears. She does it again. She really does it again. It's not a 5-star. It's not, but I am going to rate it 4.5, which means I'm basically right at the average that it has on Goodreads, which I believe is 4.59. So I agree with the million other people who have rated this book. I think it was phenomenal. I think it was so impactful. I learned so much about the Vietnam War that I never knew. Seeing the women's perspective and about how they were just dismissed over and over again and told to be ashamed of what they went through. And I understand that the Americans lost the war and people were ashamed in general of the people who fought in this war because what they did was wrong. And obviously it was, but all the soldiers, they didn't go because they thought what they were doing was wrong. They didn't know what they were fighting for, really. And I mean, she was a nurse, so she didn't even fight. She just helped American soldiers, but she also helped a lot of the Vietnamese people. This book really just opens your eyes and brings so much insight into a part of history that I didn't really know much about beforehand. Seeing our main character struggle with coming home from the war and almost talking about her time in Vietnam as the best time of her life while also being the worst, but at least there she knew her place in the world and she knew what her purpose was. But being back home, she feels lost and she just doesn't know how to go on. She's filled with grief and anger and shame and all of these hard feelings, and then on top of that being told over and over again that women weren't in Vietnam when she's trying to get help for veterans. But this book is so well written and you just feel the emotions, and I can almost picture it. Like in my mind, I picture old photographs in black and white from the 60s of this time, and I don't even know, like, I don't even know what to say. I finished the book and I'm sitting there with like, wow, you know? But I still don't want to rate it a 5-star because I do feel like the book is a little bit long, and I think I said that earlier maybe about how it's repetitive in the war, and I understand that war is repetitive. It is, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get a little bit dragged out in reading about it. But I still think this book was phenomenal. I mean, 4.5 stars is still absolutely amazing, and I would definitely recommend this book if you're curious about a historical fiction book or you want to expand your reading genres and thoughts. Because obviously a million other people who have rated this on Goodreads agree with me. And now I want to learn more about the Vietnam War. Like, I want to look up pictures and Polaroids that people took of this time, of the women and also of the men who served. Such a powerful book. Truly such a powerful book. And with that, this video obviously ends because I have now read the lowest rated and the highest rated book on my physical TBR. This was definitely very interesting, and as we can now gather from this video, is that I agree with the Goodreads rating. I think this was a low rated book and I think this was a high rated book. And I don't even know what more to say than that I thought this was a fun experience and maybe I'll do it again one day. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!